Welcome to the Loudoun County Business Podcast. I'm JC. We have a great guest with us today, someone I've been really looking forward to meeting and chatting with, Chuck Kuhn. Chuck, welcome to the podcast. Really excited about chatting today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited as well.
Yeah, so a little bit of an intro, Chuck. Your background, you're the president and CEO of JK Moving Services. Over 3 decades ago, at the young age of 16, you started your company, and today it is the largest independent moving company in North America. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's pretty incredible, Chuck. What I like to talk about today, obviously, what's on everybody's mind these days is the virus, obviously, and how businesses are adapting and pivoting. The good ones, it seems, are doing that effectively. Can you talk a little bit about what JK Moving is doing to continue doing business?
Absolutely. It is absolutely a challenge for everyone, as you can imagine, mentally, physically, financially. I think we've been very fortunate here at JK. We've got a tremendous crew base that has been willing to serve our customers, willing to come in and do what they're asked to do. And they're doing it while following best practice protocols out there that have been put forth by CDC. Mm-hmm. So we had a number of disaster recovery plans in place, just as good business practice. And fortunately, we've been executing on a couple of those practices. Most of our administrative personnel are working from home, and we were fortunate to have IT set up in a way that could be done pretty easily. A number of our employees were working remote as it was, and we've moved probably 90% of our administrative personnel remote. Mm-hmm. Our moving crew base is still reporting in. We've staggered the start times to keep people isolated from one another. We make sure we don't have more than 10 people in our dispatch areas at any given time. And then we're following all of the best practice protocols with the gloves, with the masks, proper distancing. On some jobs, we're sending out more equipment so we don't have people gathered in one vehicle. And we're doing the best we can while serving our customer base.
So business is still functioning. You guys are still moving people. Obviously, people are still buying and selling homes. They have to move across the country or move across the state of Virginia. That's still happening day in and day out, correct?
It's happening. We're still shipping locally. We're shipping domestically. We're shipping internationally. Mm-hmm. We're doing a lot of work for the hospitals in the area, trucking in supplies and distributing supplies. We're doing residential moves, commercial moves, and doing a lot of work, like I said, with different food banks and different hospitals, just trying to help keep products moving around the Beltway.
I'm glad to hear you guys are still healthy and doing business and especially adapting into filling some of those niches like that you just mentioned. There's a need to be transporting some of these supplies for hospitals and so forth. So that's a great way of jumping into that part of the business.
Thank you. It's been good for us. I think it's been good for the community, and it's keeping our people working, thankfully.
Yeah, that's great. Chuck, as I mentioned in the beginning, you started the company when you were 16. So I'm just really curious about what it was like at the Kuhn dinner table when you were 16. Like what was going on at that dinner table that would influence a young 16-year-old kid to start a company?
Well, it was interesting. My parents got a job transfer over to Iran back when I was, I guess, sixth, seventh grade. And so we had a corporate relocation to Iran. My father was in telecommunications, and we had a disastrous move to Iran. We had a disastrous move back from Iran. Mm-hmm. And while we were in Iran, the revolution took place and the Shah was overthrown. And my brother and I got shipped out to live with my aunt and uncle in Rockville, Maryland. And at the time, my uncle had a small local moving business, and he put us to work in the trade to keep us out of trouble. And that's where we learned the moving and storage business. My parents, about 6 months later, were sent back, and and we got back together as a family in Northern Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And when I turned 16, I used money that I saved working for my uncle to buy my first moving van. And so that's how the business got started at 16. My parents were very hardworking, are very hardworking people, and we learned the work ethic from my mother and father, learned the trade of moving and storage from my uncle, and it all kind of came together when I got my driver's license and bought our first truck. And it's been a fun journey, a fun challenge, growing one truck at a time, adding one crew on at a time, and building the business to what it is today. As you mentioned, we're the largest independently owned and operated moving and storage company in North America.
Yep.
Being the largest was never our goal. Being the best has always been our goal.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, that's a good point. Are you one of the largest employers in Loudoun County?
We are.
Mhm.
And it's been a great county to work in.
And you live here as well, correct?
Yes, I sure do.
So let's talk a little bit about your passion. It seems like it is one of your passions, conservation, land conservation specifically. Tell us about that.
That's been a fun journey in itself. As we've grown the business and had greater success, we've made a good point in reinvesting back into the community, whether it be with the JK Community Farm or with protecting open space through conservation easement. So in the recent past, when I say recent past, probably over the last 6 years, we've been purchasing land in western Loudoun County. When I say western, west of Route 15, placing the property in the conservation easement, which means we've been foregoing any development rights on the property, keeping it in farm agricultural ground, and trying to slow the residential growth in western Loudoun. Don't get me wrong, there's tax benefit to it that we enjoy, but more importantly, we're protecting the open space, and it's been a nice give back to the community.
You mentioned the JK Farm. Tell us about that.
Great. So the JK Community Farm was created approximately 3 years ago. And what happened was JK as an organization was supporting local charities. We were giving back. We were helping and trying to do our part as a responsible business in the community. But it didn't feel like we were doing enough. And we were roundtabling different ideas we could do and different charities we should support. And ultimately, those thoughts, along with my daughter returning from Knoxville, Tennessee, she was down there in college. And while she was in college, she worked for a community farm. And the community farm was raising organic vegetables and giving them back to the food insecure in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. They were also using troubled youth to try and help support the farm and getting them out of trouble and getting them productive and feeling good about their involvement in the community. And she was very proud of her work with the community farm. So as she's returning from college, talking about all the good work they were doing down in Tennessee, the executive team at JK was talking about how we could give back more, along with what we were doing with the Conservation easements. It kind of came together as the perfect alignment.
Yeah.
And with that, we took one of the farms that we were placing in conservation easement, 150-acre farm in western Loudoun. We turned it into the JK Community Farm. Half of the farm is being used to raise and grow organic vegetables. The other half of the farm is being used to grow beef, chicken, and harvest venison. All of the fruits of the labor, all of the harvest is being donated to local food banks and local charities to support the food insecure. And Loudoun, Fairfax County is going into DC and also Montgomery County. So the distribution is getting wider and deeper every year. This year, for example, and don't quote me exactly on the numbers, but we'll put approximately 70,000 pounds of organic vegetables into local food banks and about 60,000 pounds of all natural beef, chicken, and venison. So it's been a great give back. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of hard work, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah, I can see. Chuck, I live in Leesburg, and there's a piece of property that a lot of people in Leesburg are concerned about and curious about how it's going to turn out. It's the West Park, former West Park golf course that's on the southwest part of town. And there's been people talking that you might be interested in doing something there with conservation, and a lot of people are super excited when they heard your name mentioned in that, in regards to that piece of property. Is there anything you can tell us about that, or is that something that's on the maybe not at this point you're ready to discuss?
No, I'm a pretty much an open book, so I'm happy to talk about it. That's a really neat piece, and it's a pretty unique piece, and for old timers in Western Loudon, people know that was one of the real first public swimming pools in the area that people could use, and then it turned into the golf course and developed into what it is today. That property is a piece of property that we do have under contract. We are studying it. What we would like to do with the property is put it into conservation easement and then try and get Loudoun County to take it back as a park or something that could be utilized by the community. When I say I would like to do it, it's a challenging piece. The economics of the piece are challenging. What the town of Leesburg is willing to do, especially in the COVID environment, is challenging. Kelly Burke has been very instrumental in trying to make something positive happen there for the community. So I wouldn't want to make any commitments that it is going to fully materialize, but we're trying hard to make it work into a conservation easement and some form of community give back.
I tell you what, Chuck, that would be incredible and make a lot of people on the southwest side of town really happy, or in Leesburg in general. I live close by, and I drive around the park every once in a while, and that in these days that piece of property has become essentially a public park. I mean, there are people walking their dog, their strollers, people taking bike rides on it. I don't know if that's legal or not, to be honest with you, but it seems like the community has taken to that in a huge way already, and that would be incredible if it turned into a park.
I can't agree with you more. And any feedback, any letters, any emails sent into the Leesburg Town Council, Kelly Burke, would be helpful. We're very much in support of it. If we can get the town of Leesburg to get behind it and support Kelly and the initiative, we will absolutely move forward. But time is of the essence. We have a certain amount of time under the study period, and we'll need everything to align. We'll need to align the plan for the conservation easement, which is coming together, but also the town of Leesburg support and taking it back in as a park for the community. But I would love to see it happen just as you would.
Right. So what can we do to help? You mentioned just letters to Mayor Burke and the town council. What is specifically should they address, and should it be your initiative and support of that initiative, or what's the best way to go about doing that?
Yes, just good, honest feedback to the town council on their feelings about the development of the property, the support of our initiative and putting it into conservation easement and trying to get Leesburg to take it back in some form or fashion as a park would be helpful. If they just acknowledge the fact that they're aware of it, they're concerned about it, and they're in support of it, and would love to see it ultimately become an open space for the residents of Leesburg, it would be great.
Yeah, I think people will jump on that. I know there's when I was telling people that I was going to chat with you today, they're really excited, and they're like, "We'll ask them about West Park," and I said I do my best. I think they're going to be happy to hear that you are involved and you want to have further involvement in it. So I'll get the word out for you, definitely.
Well, thank you. We've put all total probably close to 7,000 acres in Western Loudon into conservation easement. Some of those pieces are already in easement. Some of them are in the process of going in easement. Some of them are pending settlement and will ultimately go into easement. And we'd love to see West Park be an additional piece of that.
That'd be something. Chuck, to wrap up, how can people help if they want to help your initiatives? Specifically with the JK Farm, I'm sure that relies a lot on volunteers. How can people go about lending a hand if they want to help you?
Well, thanks for asking. And the JK Community Farm has a Twitter feed. They have a LinkedIn page, Facebook, and Instagram.
Mhm.
If you go onto the website, you can find out how you can volunteer. It is completely driven by volunteers. So my daughter Samantha heads up the charity. We have a tremendous support farmer there by the name of Mike Smith. Some people call him Sweet Potato Mike. Great asset to the community farm. He's the lead in making sure things get in the ground and harvested properly. But other than Samantha and Mike, it's really supported 100% by volunteers. Last year, we had 11,000 volunteer hours. So we would appreciate any community support with respect to volunteering. JK Community Farm is a 501c3, so anyone who would like to make donations, they're greatly appreciated. In the time of need with COVID, we're actually stepping up production. We're stepping up the amount of ground that we're utilizing to support the food insecure, and any help you could be is greatly appreciated.
I'll get the word out, Chuck. Thanks for joining me today. You know, you're someone I've always wanted to chat with, and curious about your story. I appreciate your time today. I know you're super busy. For anybody in my audience watching, I can vouch for JK Moving Services. They have great reviews. Everybody that I've recommended has been super happy with their service. So if you're looking for a mover or anybody in that capacity, give JK a call. They do great work.
Well, thanks for having me on today. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, Chuck. Thanks.
Thank you.